Look, I know. At this point, I'll sound like a broken record, but looking back, 2020 was absolutely horrible. What was once considered the perfect start into the new decade actually turned out to be far worse than anyone can imagine. Not only was this little shit rampaging all across the world like it's trying to get a pentakill in League, all of the anime that we were looking forward to got pushed back by months or indefinitely. There was one thing we were all looking forward to and were truly disappointed with the results. I'm talking about Webtoons anime. If anything, 2020 was the year where anime-style shows outside of Japan started to make their way into the seasonal lineup, with a huge following all over the world. These three shows, Noblesse, Tower of God, and God of High School, were like the first settlers arriving at the new world, with many hype about their voyage and showing their support, as they were the first of their kind to become mainstream. But as the title suggests, they were all letdowns. Don't get me wrong, I love these series, and I have kept up with God of High School and even finished Noblesse back in 2018. And like many, was super thrilled when arguably the three best webtoons got an anime adaptation, but to my surprise, just like anyone who read the source material, it was nothing like we expected. Let's start off with Tower of God. I'm going to be referring to the source material for many things, therefore there might be some spoilers, so you have been warned. Okay, we good? Now let's talk about the world building. The world building for Tower of God is truly one of a kind. Think SAO, like the whole Aincrad itself, like the whole monster castle, but more dark and grungy. To summarize the story as quick as possible, Bam, our protagonist, is a cave dweller who learns about the world from Rachel and how they live in a tower, and if you reach the top of the tower, you'll be granted any wish. One day Rachel decides to leave to go up the tower, leaving Bam behind, but for some god knows reason, he chases after her and thus starts the epic 10+ year journey in Bam trying to reach Rachel while Rachel is trying to climb to the top of the tower. With that summary, you would have thought to yourself, what an amazing plot, this can go in any direction, this has so much potential, etc. This is where the problem begins to show up. The story is moving at light speed on the first episode, while also throwing these goddamn curveballs of a question at you that, even if you were to think about it for just 1 second, 20 more will come out of nowhere striking you out. Also, the art style, let's not kid ourselves right here, it's atrocious. I know they're trying to, stay true to the source, but it just doesn't work. There is like no shading, no depth to the character, everything looks so flat, but somehow the background has more detail than the actual character, making it look like they just dropped like the character on a Photoshop layer without doing any shading or any like reflections. Right, they don't even have the good water that we all come to expect from any shonen. I don't know about you, but when comparing the water in episode 2 with Violet Evergarden or Demon Slayer for you cool cats and kittens, the water in Violet Evergarden, it's light years ahead. Shit looks like it was made with Adobe Flash back in the early 2000s. While on the topic of graphics, let's talk about our second webtoon, God of High School. The best way to describe this is just one long tournament arc. And that's about it. For a majority of the show, it's just fight sequence after fight sequence with little sprinkles of backstory from the main and supporting characters. We have at least above average animation when compared to Tower of God, but other than that, there is nothing remarkable about the show. You know how in typical shonen shows, the tournament arc is usually the setup for something bigger, like the battle between two rivaling schools or the fight between two rival characters. Just look at Naruto with the Genin saga or My Hero Academia with that season 2 stuff, and is usually built up to via previous seasons or some intense training sequence. Yeah, there is nothing like that in God of High School. There is no meat to the sandwich, none whatsoever. And many of the interactions between the characters and the shit they do on the screen makes me believe a 2-cell organism wrote this. Worst of all, hundreds of chapters later, the title kind of falls off as they're not even fighting in high school anymore. They're trying to claim the title God of the Universe. And can I just say, going a little bit rant here, after keeping up with the Webtoons weekly, I'm still in awe how Park, the religious guy, Mr. Christ himself, just abandoned his son because he was abnormal due to his meddling and trying to play God, all because of this girl he simped for years ago. Speaking of gods, this brings us to the last of the 3 webtoons, Noblesse. The first time I heard about Noblesse and webtoons in general was back in 2016 when that OVA was released. After watching that one episode, I was immediately hooked on the story and continued to read the webtoons weekly until the very end. But look what they did to my boy Ray. They started right where the OVA ended, which is probably the stupidest move I have ever seen in recent times, considering that not many people watched that OVA, and apparently I didn't even know this, but it looks like there was an adaptation of the prequel for Noblesse. What the actual hell? It's like making the entirety of Naruto as an OVA, then making Shippuden as the proper season. They basically crammed the first arc into a 30-minute episode. No one besides the die-hard anime fans of that series will watch the OVA, and by doing this, Crunchyroll or whoever is directing this project, you are confusing the hell out of the new anime viewers and even some veterans on what is going on. Like, who are these people and why does he have a broken arm and why is Wolverine here? Genuinely, when I watched the first episode of Noblesse, I was so confused on why this guy has a broken arm. Because, it's been like 3 years since I've seen anything Noblesse related and 5 years since I watched that OVA. It's so dumb. Why are you picking up at that place? It makes no sense. If I was a major anime corporation and given a chance to go back in time, webtoons such as Sweet Home should have been one of the first 3. The story is simple and even has a live adaptation that did reasonably well. Kinda surprised it was not the other way around because, it's usually anime first, then live adaptation that's really ass. So, the Dragon Ball, the Last Airbender, that's not really anime, but it kinda is, not really. Sweet Home as a webtoons would have been a better wow factor in getting people to watch manhwas or any other type of anime style shows becoming mainstream. And so as the video concludes, I have a few things to say before the music fades in. First off, don't know who this is gonna apply to, but to any anime companies, don't just focus on webtoons, focus on manhwa itself or any other type of comic medium such as the Chinese version manhwa. I think I pronounced that right, probably didn't. There are really good Korean type manga not on webtoons that deserve more recognition and I believe will spice up the current anime climate of just shonen and isekai trash shows. Some manhwas that you guys should check out are Solo Leveling, the one that everyone talks about now because that's really hype. See You in My 19th Life is another one that I started to read. Interesting. It's like a slice of life, so if you like that stuff, go ahead, read it. Unholy Blood, there's vampires. You like vampires? Oh wait, Noblesse, so probably not. Shotgun Boys is a really good one. There's a few chapters on webtoons, but it's really cool. Same creator of Sweet Home. It's 17 plus because there's some, some social topics that I'm too tired and not the right person to be going into that type of stuff. SSS Class Suicide Hunter and Bastards are also good. Those two have been getting some traction recently, so check those out. Also, let's not forget probably the best gaming anime, King's Avatar. If you like esports and VR, this is a good anime to watch. The source material is by a Chinese manhwa, I think. I'm pronouncing that wrong, but you got the point. It's a really good show. Season 2 recently came out. Not many people were talking about it. I know it was super hype back in 2017, 2018. That's when season 1 was released and then they announced season 2, but it got pushed back like 2 years, so better late than never. Again, I want to alliterate. I have no hatred towards any of the shows or webtoons themselves. I was just disappointed at what could have been a fantastic show. But instead we got this mid-tier reheated state of an adaptation. Like, let's look at Demon Slayer, okay? Manga itself, nothing special, okay? Let's not even joke about it. It was nothing special. Premise super cool. It had a simple premise, and guess what they did? To spice up the low end parts, they added some flair, some flash to it. Now look at it. Demon Slayer, best anime of the decade. Alright, that's about it. My name's Apolic. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead, hit the like button, get subscribed, ring the little notification bell, and comment down below your top manhwa picks or your top webtoons. I'm interested in seeing them. I might, pin the one I like the most so you guys can check it out. I'll heart them, and I'll talk to you all later.